and business here in the city of Worcester. Right now, though, one of the stories that we have been reading about has been getting a lot of comment on the pages of the Telegram and Gazette, and that is about these sham marriages and what has been going on at City Hall, how the immigration officials came in. But there's a couple of sides to this story, and here to help us kind of sort some of this out is Gorette Nunes, and thank you so much for coming by. I appreciate it.
No problem.
And you're an attorney here in the city, work with Randy Feldman.
That's correct.
Who's a well-known immigration attorney in the city. Tell me from your point of view, as you kind of read this story, I know that Randy was asked to comment on it for the Telegram and Gazette. People, it seemed as if many of them from Ghana, going down to Worcester City Hall, there would be somebody who would be found for them, who would be paid $5,000, $6,000, an American citizen. Seemed as if many of the people obviously would be down on their luck, or there was substance abuse involved in some of these cases. That's why they were attracted to the $5,000 or $6,000 to be able to be paid. City Clerk Dave Rushford noticed this a few years ago, got Immigration Services involved, and all of a sudden now we have, Immigration Services trying to come and put a stop to it with these agents. From your point of view, as you read that, I mean, have you seen cases like this in the past? Do you think that this is a common thing that goes on?
Well, more throughout the years, it was very common. I've seen cases like this. We turn them away, to be honest with you. We don't engage in fraudulent marriage, helping people that engage in fraudulent marriage. We don't help them do the paperwork at all. We actually advise them against it, because once they have found to have engaged in fraudulent marriage, there's no way for them to become legal. They're pretty much done. They're going back home. So
now, and then, I mean, back home for 10 years, or just that's it?
It's a lifetime bar.
It's a lifetime bar.
Right. There's no other petition that could be filed for them, that could be subsequent petition that could be approved.
So they're really taking a large chance. Do you find, and when we were taking a look at this case, and I know that, as you were reading about it in the paper, is this people, do you think, mostly who have been in America for a while and now fear that they are going to have to go back home, or this is the way in which they are seeking entry to this country to begin with?
Well, these are people that come to this country, usually with visitors' visas. They find that they like to stay here, start working, and then they come to a difficulty that they can't work because they don't have employment authorization card. They don't have green cards. So they hear from friends and through friends that this is an easy way to become legal. You get an employment authorization card, and maybe in the end, hopefully, get a green card. So that's where these agents come in. They get referred by other people in the community, and then they pay the amounts of money, $5,000 to $6,000.
Now I've got to figure that the person who's making the $5,000 or $6,000, they're not making the big money. It's the person who's finding them. It's the person who's helping set up this scam.
Right.
And in a lot of ways, I think, is taking advantage of the person who is here in this country illegally. Yes, but they're really being taken advantage of as well in a way. I mean, their thirst for wanting to come here is being exploited. And I think that we see this sometimes when you hear about some of these flop houses that are being run, where people who are here are being exploited in that they're paying outrageous sums to sleep on a mattress in somebody's basement, but he's got that power over them because they're here illegally. And I understand that there's a lot of people who won't have empathy for that, but some of these people are being exploited, and what they really want is they just want their piece of the American dream.
Right. They want to help their family and friends back home. Some of them come from very poor countries. Other ones come from poor countries or stable countries, but they want to make money so then they could support their family back home. The African countries are not bad. Ghana is not bad. Nigeria is not all that bad either. So when they send money back home, it's worth a lot, and they live comfortably. So we advise people to save their money, because what happens is that they're going to end up losing it. And if they get placed in deportation proceedings, or now it's called removal proceedings, they're going to be spending an exorbitant amount of money to try to defend a frivolous case. So,
well, as you pointed out in the beginning, I mean, the thing to do is not to do something illegal, or particularly to enter into a sham marriage to begin with. I was surprised as I was reading that story about this, you know, this $5,000-$6,000, about going out and finding these women who are down on their luck, or who, you know, are kind of looking for money for their next fix or whatever it is, and preying upon them to get them involved in this. I guess the stories that I had always heard was that, you know, rich American tourist goes over to Africa, and suddenly, you know, somebody there says, "Hey, boy, aren't you beautiful, and I'd love to marry you and bring me back home." I never quite understood how that would work so quickly, but that was what I always thought that the scam was. This was completely new to me, that somebody's sitting down at, you know, at a store in Worcester just waiting for the right person to come in so that they can approach them and say, "How'd you like to make $5,000?"
Well, it's not only that. I think they find them, as I understand, they find them in laundromats and gas stations, and just find the most. It's so obvious that it's a fake marriage, because the person that they're marrying is just. I mean, it's so.
Well, but this was the other part that I found interesting about this too. Now, David Rushford, as the city clerk, goes to immigration. So he does the right thing and says, "Hey, you know, clearly there are people coming in here who don't even seem to know the last name of the person that they're marrying," I think was one of the quotes from the story. Couldn't he, or does he have a responsibility to say at that point, "I'm not going to issue a marriage license"?
No. He can't deny someone the right to marry. As long as they could fill out the application, anybody could get married.
That's it. All right.
Right.
So even though, because the way the story was written, it sounded as if he had the legal right to say no, but there would really be no way to do that. I suppose you'd have to ask everybody. All of a sudden, you'd be asking a certain group questions that you wouldn't ask another group.
Right, right. He'll be targeting people that might be a real marriage, and then in the end, it's just, and if he denies them the right to marry, there'll be, I think, constitutional issues there.
Did it surprise you that this sting operation or whatever it was, you know, it seemed as if it took about 4 years. It sounded for all the world as if the city clerk himself thought, "I think they forgot all about it," or that I had even made this complaint, and then all of a sudden, you know, they came in and started to shut things down. Did the wheels just grind slowly? Well,
I think they were just trying to get enough evidence against the agents, against you know, people engaging in this fraudulent marriage of U.S. citizens, the immigrants as well, because if you don't, they have to have evidence against the immigrant in order to deport them. If they engage in fake marriages, I think they are also trying to get evidence against certain attorneys in Worcester that are, or maybe not
who
even
are facilitating.
Worcester, right? All over Massachusetts as well, to try to get evidence against them, because they no longer condoning this type of, well, they weren't condoning in the beginning with, but now it's starting to become prominent that this is a problem.
We'll talk more about this. We'll talk more about what you do straight ahead, right here on Wake Up Worcester.
It's NCAA championship time.